Hello, I'm Paul.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Ben.
And welcome to the Film Busters podcast. The film show with no filters, no prisoners taken, loads of disagreements, but one hell of a love for cinema.
If you want to hear three friends ridiculing each other for an hour or so regarding their taste in films, then you have come to the right place.
In each episode, one of the team picks a film for us to discuss. It could be anything from a recent cinema release to an all-time classic.
So, strap in and get ready to get mad or get vindicated as we guide you through the murky world of being a film geek.
If you like what you hear, you can also find us on Twitter and Instagram using @FilmbustersPod. You can also find each of our individual accounts. I'm at Filmbusters Paul.
I'm at Filmbusters Adam.
And I'm at Filmbusters Ben.
If you want to use your eyes instead of your ears, you can also visit the website at filmbusters.pod.co.uk.
And if busting makes you feel good, you can also support us at patreon.com/filmbusters for exclusive content.
Alright, can we just get on with this now, please?
Filmbusters.
So obviously I listened to the last episode, Ben, so I was a mere listener last episode. I wasn't even a host. So you said anyone who's back-to-back in the episodes will find out what happened in the US elections.
And here we are.
Do you want to speak about it still?
No, let's not talk about it because we will lose all our listeners who are already devastated. Yeah.
Let's talk about something nice.
Yes, let's talk about something nice. Listen, I'll say this is the only thing I'll say about the US elections. We were all damned either way. Now we're just damned in a more obvious way.
Yes, I agree. Very much so. I want you to tell me about Dr. Strangelove. How was it?
Oh, well, it was very nice, very lovely, very good, very apt, considering you're talking about the US elections. Steve Coogan's very good at it indeed. They have him on and off set so quickly in between the scenes. He plays 4 roles. So for those of you who've seen Strangelove, he plays Strangelove, he plays the president, he plays Lieutenant Manning, I think that's his name, but he also plays the role of the guy who dropped the bomb. From the cowboy looking guy. The cowboy looking guy, yeah, he plays him as well. But they do such clever
staging,
swap and replaces. Like, for one example is, so they got the big war room, the big table, and he sits at the back of it, like facing the audience, and at one point he has to take a phone call, so he's given the phone and he turns his back to the audience and he sort of walks towards the rear of stage, but he stays there constantly, and somehow
they swap him out.
He suddenly comes on stage as Strangelove, and you're like, but that's him there, and you realise they've just done a Derren Brown swap and replace type thing. Yeah, very, very clever. The jokes all land. They're all very good. Coogan's very good. The whole cast is very good. It was a lot of fun. Lots of new dialogue as well. Lots of old dialogue.
Nice.
I mean, they definitely lean into him, Strangelove. You know, they hint at the fact that he has this Nazi background. But they definitely lean into it much more than it's a recurring joke, but whenever they refer to Strangelove brings up things about the Nazis and Hitler and whatnot, and he always says stuff like, which I totally disagreed with. I hated that. But it's obvious you fucking loved it. It's very good. I recommend anyone seeing it if they can go see it. Very, very good indeed. Good staging.
And is there lots of references to bodily fluids? And securing your own bodily fluids and stuff?
There are lots of references to bodily fluids. Sorry, I was just drinking water as you asked me that, so that's very relevant.
I thought I stunned you.
I'll tell you one thing that's really interesting, right? You remember in Strangelove, I always thought the scene was strange. In the movie, there is a scene where he needs a coin out of the Coke machine so he can make a phone call. So he gets the soldier to shoot the machine, and he shoots it, and then he kneels down and he gets sprayed in the face by Coke. It's a weird gag in the film to have, because everything's sort of like political satire.
So very slapstick.
And then you've got this, which I always thought was very strange. They replicate it on stage, and considering that the stage, everything you have to make so specifically for stage, they have this big Coke vending machine, which is literally there for that gag.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, this is strange to me. I don't understand if I'm really missing some like subtle joke.
Yeah, for that to be like
Coke
a
machine.
crucial element to bring from the film. They wanted to. Yeah.
It's weird in the film and it's weird on stage, but
How'd they play that with the spraying?
they sprayed the man in the face when he bent down. Water shot out of the machine.
It was what it was.
It was what it was. Yeah,
very good. I'm glad it was everything you hoped for, and maybe more.
Everything I hoped for, and maybe more.
Oh, lovely.
Although there was a guy. He didn't come back for the first half of the film of the show. He was a couple rows behind us, and he was one of these people who has to let everyone know that he finds each joke really funny.
Oh, God.
So doing that really, he just didn't return for the second hour. He was pissed out of his head. Absolutely pissed out of his head, yeah. And he was a grown-ass, bearded man. It's like, how embarrassing, mate.
Get a grip on your life.
A grip on your life.
Hey, they've ruined things sometimes, don't they? People like that.
Who knew people would ruin things?
I know. Idiots.
They're the worst.
They are. Adam's not here. He's ruining the podcast. He's not here, is he?
Oh, this is going to be a fun run without Adam now, though.
Yeah. No waffle. No singing.
No singing. No 20-minute silences. And then I just didn't think it was very good.
I'm going to miss his plot rundown, though.
I know. We miss you, Adam.
We miss you, really, Adam.
To the listeners, I'm the only constant on this fucking podcast now. You were AWOL last week.
I know.
Adam AWOL for the rest of the month.
It's just got to be done sometimes, isn't it?
No, we're rotating hosts. This is how we work.
Exactly.
And we're going to have some guest appearances over the next few episodes. Because Adam's away for a while, right? He's away on holiday for a good long while, so you won't be hearing Adam for many episodes. So it's going to be me. We're rebranding this as Film Busters and Friends for the next few episodes.
May as well.
May as well. Everyone knows we got Julio coming. Everyone knows this is Julio's around, so they know we got him coming.
But maybe you're gonna find out someone else who's gonna come next episode. Maybe the end of this episode.
Yeah. We work well. There you go.
Beautiful stuff. Can't wait. Well, let's get to this episode anyway. We've got to get to this episode first.
We got to.
We're doing 2001, and it's my pick. We're doing Brotherhood of the Wolf.
Did you like how happy I was when I heard that you picked that in the last episode?
You were very happy. You were going, oh shit.
Yeah.
I'm interested to know like your history with this film, because all I know, if you've seen it, that's all I know about it.
Yeah.
But it was my pick, so that's what we're doing. But before we get to the good stuff, let me just say we got a Patreon at www.patreon.com/filmbusters, where you can get exclusive episodes. You can come on the show. You can suggest films for us to watch. It's just a very lovely place. And we're doing an episode after this episode. What are we going to do it on, Ben?
Well, this was brought to us by our good friend Sean Panda Nicholson, who appeared on our episode, which was called Good Vibrations, and he wants us to talk about the worst musical performances in film.
Exactly that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure we're going to have some wonderful, hilarious conversations about some really shit singing.
Yeah.
So don't miss it. That's on the Patreon, www.patreon.com/filmbusters. So without further ado, we've got nothing else to do other than talk about this film, Ben.
Okay, well, there's plenty to talk about, so let's go.
Let's bloody do it.
It was at the dawn of the Age of Reason that first appeared the beast upon the county of Gévaudan. Possessed with enormous strength, it would strike without warning and disappear without a trace. When all hope seemed lost, the king sent 2 men, determined to unravel the mystery. What they uncovered was a world of deception and a struggle for power that was far more dangerous than anything they could have imagined.
Right, everyone, today we're doing Brotherhood of the Wolf from 2001 by Christoph Gans, the man who also made Silent Hill.
Yes, he did.
That cool little film. It's quite a good film.
It's a very good film.
Yeah.
One of the best video game adaptations has ever been made.
I'd say so. Yeah, 100%.
I didn't even really play Silent Hill, and then I saw that movie in cinemas, and I was like, fuck me, I want to play Silent Hill.
Yeah, just the atmosphere. Wonderful atmosphere was made in that film.
Do you know the sequel, directed by him, is in pre-production?
Is it? I think I did know that. Yeah.
That's exciting.
Down for that. Wonder if Sean Bean will return.
Oh, yeah.
Let's hope so. Didn't die in that one, did he?
No, everyone else did.
Anyway, this is a spoiler episode. We're going to spoil this film terribly for you, so you might want to go watch it first and then come back and listen to all our spoilerific details. There have been 3 people who've been in films we've done before, Ben. Do you know who they are?
All right, so Vincent Cassell's got to be one of them, but is he one of them?
Yes, and you brought the film to the podcast.
I did.
Mm-hmm.
Was he talking French or talking English?
English.
Oh.
Do you want me to give you another clue?
Yeah, give me a little clue.
Okay.
Gentle nudge in the right direction.
Directed by a very famous British director.
Oh, okay, Trance.
Yes, Trance.
I totally fucking forgot we covered that. Yeah, great film.
Yeah.
Clever film.
Next, any others you can remember?
I guess Monica Bellucci must have been in something. Oh, really?
Nope. Yeah, been.
I guess Manny, Mark Dacascos was in something.
Yes.
I don't know what it would have been.
Man.
Hard Ticket to Hawaii, maybe.
No, man, you're going to kick yourself.
I don't recognise him.
He's in John Wick 3.
Well,
do you remember him in that?
It.
He
No.
works at the sushi stall, and then he's actually a killer, and he's like the one who's sitting with him in the reception with the dog.
I don't remember that at all. The third
man,
John
he's
Wick.
a cool character in that. Yeah, third one. The best
I could
one.
believe it. 4 was the best one, I think, wasn't it?
Nah, 3 for me.
They
4
were
for
all
you,
good.
3 for me. Yeah, they're all great.
Apart from 1. The first one's no gooder.
The first one's great.
First one, no gooder.
Okay, that's fine. Different, very different kind of film.
Good. Yeah, exactly. They didn't know what they were creating with that first one.
Yeah. Last person.
I don't really know the names of any of the other actors, so go ahead.
Your clue is she's a French actress.
Is it the one who played Marianne?
No, I don't think you're even going to get this because I only realised afterwards, but it's going to maybe blow your mind a little bit. She's been in 2 films we've done before that are both in the same universe, potentially, and the films are Eyes Without a Face and Holy Motors. It is Edith Scobb.
Yeah.
Do you remember the whole link between Eyes Without a Face?
I remember the link between those two. Yeah.
She's the mum of Vincent Cassel in this, and like Francois and Marianne.
Oh.
How weird! It's just she's there. She's not even a main character.
No. That's what I mean. I could barely remember their mum, to be honest.
Yeah.
I remember her at the dinner table.
There's a moment where she's where Vincent Cassel is saying, "Oh, I'm having all these visions, whatever," and then she's standing there watching him, and she's like shakes her head weirdly.
Oh
That
yes,
woman.
yes. Oh my
That
god, she
woman.
does. Right. Okay. Well, yeah. God, she's a favourite of the podcast now. I don't even know her name.
there
Say
you
it
go.
again.
Edith Scobb.
Edith Scobb.
Yeah. Julio will know.
When was she in Holy Motors? She was right in the very end.
She was
She was going in the car.
She was the one
at
wearing
the end
the
of Holy
mask.
Motors. Yes. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Have you heard? Speaking of Holy Motors and Julio, have you heard their patron going through their top 10 movies of all time?
I've started it today, so I'm going through it. Yeah. Is that making an appearance then?
Well,
is that a spoiler?
I won't say.
No. It's not going to be Alex's one.
No, it's not. Pardon me.
All the hiccups over there.
I know, excuse me. Killed them all,
Right.
of course.
I guess you keep hiccuping on every podcast. Right, I better give you a little plot rundown because Andy's not here. So we got Sir Gregor de Fronsac and Manny.
Yeah.
They come to this small little town that's got a problem with a wolf, potentially. And it's going around killing people. And maybe he does taxidermy. Maybe that's his job. Is that his job?
Well, no, I feel like, yeah, now that you've said that, there is that scene where he stuffs that wolf with sawdust later, but I feel like he's just a naturist. Like
something like that.
He builds knowledge of animals and stuff. But you might be right, actually, because he carries that fish around as well, the furry fish.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he loves animals anyway. He loves exploring, and he wants to go to Africa. And he wants to find out what this wolf is, and it may or may not be a wolf, but that is a spoiler. So, and that is the film, basically. That's what we're going into. You got any facts about this film, Ben?
I got some facts about this film, and honestly, if you folks have not seen this film, this is one of the rare films where there is a reveal that we'll talk about, and if you really don't want that spoiled, which you shouldn't if you intend on watching this film, don't listen until you've watched this film.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Well, yes, the story is loosely based on the real-life 18th century legend of the Beast of Gerverdun, where apparently around 100 people were killed by what people assumed was a wolf-like creature, which was never found over the course of about 3 years. And they killed many different wolves in the pursuit of capturing this beast, but the killings continued, and they finally stopped when they killed this one particular wolf and they found human remains in his belly. But can you imagine if just one wolf was killing 100 fucking people?
Wow.
Wild stuff. Special effects in this film, largely for the beast, the werewolf, or whatever you want to call it itself, were a combination of CGI as well as puppetry and animatronics designed by Jim Henson's Creature Shop. I thought that was a very cool bit of trivia. I wouldn't have thought Jim Henson his company would have had anything to do with this film. No, that's very cool. Vincent Cassel initially refused the part of the villain in this movie because he thought the character was too mild. So it was rewritten to make him creepier and more twisted, and to add the incestuous attraction to his sister. And then Cassel jumped at the role.
It's like, hell yeah, I want to be incestuous.
Hell yeah, I want that, he said. $29 million budget, and was a huge success internationally, grossing over $70 million worldwide. And at the time, it became the 6th highest grossing French language film of all time in the United States. There are 3 versions of the film. Mm-hmm. The difference between them is barely discernible. There's the original French/US cut, which runs at about 2 hours 20 minutes. There's the UK cut, which I think I must have had when I first got this. I had it on DVD back in 2004, and that was like 2 hours 20. And my only understanding from that is it removes all scenes of the royal hunter Betroun. I don't even know who that is. I don't even know who
the one who was in the bath.
Oh.
Him.
Isn't he the one who told de Fronsac to create a wolf?
Yeah, that guy. So,
but I remember
well, maybe you had it.
So maybe I never saw the UK cut. Maybe I never had the UK cut. Oh,
maybe that was only theatres.
Strange. And finally, there's the director's cut, which I assume is what we. But what did you watch it on? I watched it on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, same.
Okay, so we must have watched the director's cut, even though it doesn't say it's the director's cut. So depending on which version you watched, you may experience minor differences, but nothing really significant. Apparently one of the key differences is that in one of the cuts, and I don't even know if this was in the cut that I just watched, there is a scene which reveals that Monica Bellucci's character is the person who knew everything at all times, and that she worked for the Vatican. I can't even tell you if that was in this film because it got so confusing at points.
Yeah,
so,
I also read that, and the only thing I can discern from that is that at the end she's all like suited and booted, and says, "Do you want me to introduce you to the Pope?"
Right. Okay.
That's the only reason I can say that she's obviously close to the Vatican in some way.
Yeah. Okay. Well, either way, that's all I got on the film.
Lovely, great facts there, wonderful stuff. This is my pick, so I get to decide the order of first impressions, and I think I will just go first.
Yes.
And, I mean, I didn't know what to expect with this film, and I'd heard maybe, or even assumed, it was some kind of werewolf film, like you said.
Yeah.
But clearly it isn't when it comes to the end of the film. But it kind of gives me Ravenous vibes. Like especially the beginning, and maybe even some of it also like Van Helsing. Do you know that kind of film? It's like a period horror action.
Yes,
it's like a weird kind of its own kind of genre, which is cool. It's like there's not many of those, so you kind of have to give it credit for that. And I think I made a lot of assumptions about this film though as well, because I never expected Cassell to be the bad guy. I just assumed he was one of the leads. I thought he was in that like highway jacket, and I really hoped they would stay in those cool highwayman trench coats for the whole film, because they bloody look so cool. And what a shame they didn't care on using those coats.
Yeah, use them for about 60 seconds and then done with it.
They were so good. They look so cool. You know, I don't care to see all these wigged up tough men for so long, but I got used to it. It's fine. It's a very interesting
wigged up
film.
tough men.
Yeah, wigged up tough men. It's a very interesting film, and that all kind of stems from this overarching mystery, and I think that kind of keeps you hooked along. As there's definitely also a lot that can be cut out because it's way too long. It's so long, and I almost felt like once I knew what the creature was and who is involved, which was kind of obvious because I thought it was Cassell as soon as I saw him, because it's just the story writing. It's just when you watch so many films, it's like you kind of can understand how stories play out, and it just felt like it was going to be Cassell, and I was correct. I kind of just like was ready after that. I was kind of ready for it to end, and it just wasn't ending. It just carried on going and going and going. But the whole crux of the idea is still really fun. I never expected a bloody lion to be in an armoured suit, so that's kind of credit to an original idea. But I gotta say, my God, man, the effects don't hold up. Like the CGI effects do not hold up. The practical, great. When they're actually in shot and it's practical, you can see, and it's great. But when it's CGI, it's so obvious now, and it's probably hadn't helped since the HD upgrade of this film. But like, that's certainly something that took me out of it a little. But anyway, I liked it. Manny was cool as fuck. I haven't mentioned him. He was cool as fuck. But, you know, it was way too long. That's my first impressions.
Well, so I watched it way back. I had it on DVD at uni, and it was when I was going through my Vincent Cassell obsession period. And even though it wasn't my favourite Vincent Cassell, I really loved it, and I watched it many, many times, which seems baffling to me because I cannot remember so much of it. I remember the big things, but I couldn't remember so much of it. The reason I got excited when you said Brotherhood of the Wolf is I remember two things. Number one, Vincent Cassell revealing his withered arm from behind his back. And I remember the revelation that it is a lion in this metal suit. Those two things stick out starkly, and the rest didn't. So I was so excited to revisit that, especially with you not knowing what was going to happen, to see how you would feel about it. So on this rewatch, here are all the things that I didn't like. So I used to give this an 8 out of 10. Here are all the things I felt this time. The film's all over the place. It's a mishmash of about a billion genres. Like you say, an action film at times, a horror film at times, a romance at times, a period film at times. Western. It has all of these things, and it's like, what the fuck are we doing here? I hated the action pieces. I hated the early fight in the rain. It's so overly stylized, and I remember always feeling that way, by the way, but this time it was even worse. It felt like Sleepy Hollow, but for adults. So when you were saying Ravenous, I totally get that. And I haven't seen Van Helsing, but it is that kind of period horror, but we're going to make it a bit more adult. I hated the Fronsac. He's such a creep. He's leching over that young girl. He's such a creep. Manny, boring.
Yeah, boring. Boring, but I kind of just like him.
Heavy-handed direction style all the way through. Loads of slow-mo, loads of cameras moving in. Like the director is just jerking himself off while he's making this film. He's absolutely in love with what he's doing.
Very stylized, isn't it?
Yeah, and 1,000,001 minutes too long. Having said all of that, I enjoyed the fuck out of the film. But I acknowledge that all of that is the case. I can completely see how someone would check out of this. And I can see how our friend Julio, who I see gives it quite a low score, would be like, I don't give a shit about the big reveal at the end if the rest of the film is quite boring. And it is. I think I'm being more generous to it because I remember loving it. I feel like if I'd seen this for the first time, I would be perhaps a little bit disappointed. So let me ask you this, switching away from our first impressions. So I asked you to pause the film when we get our first glimpse of the beast, proper glimpse of the beast.
The little lamb in the water. You told me to stop it.
Yeah, there's a servant girl, it seems, and a lamb struggling out of the water, and the beast attacks. So I asked you to pause because I wanted to, because I genuinely couldn't remember if by that point I knew what was going on, as in who was in control. And you said,
I said that it's definitely Vincent Cassel because we see a vision from one of the victims at one point, and it shows a man who's almost controlling this beast, and I was like, okay, it's Vincent Cassel. There's no doubt it's Vincent Cassel. It has to be him. There's no one else. Yeah. But because we're also seeing these metal teeth, I was like, maybe it's a robot or mechanical lion or something that had been created, and that was my thoughts at that moment.
Were you disappointed or happier with the reveal that it was a lion inside a metal structure?
I'm so much happier than a metal structure because it's
a great concept,
original concept. Yeah, the thing that I didn't like, especially when you told me to stop at that particular moment, that's the first time you properly see this CGI, and I was like, oh man,
do you know what?
This isn't holding up.
I think that's time, because I remember that when I know the shot you're talking about. It's when you're looking at the servant girl as she's scrambling up the hill, and it appears behind her. Mm-hmm. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Because I remember really being struck by that.
Yeah, when it's when it's like not a HD format, and it's like a little bit low res, a little bit pixelated, it makes it work. It's easily makes it work. But when it's so HD, you can see the textures on the skin of the actors against this effect they've created. It's so obvious.
Yeah, I know. And we're going to have that for films that we release now and in 20 years. You know that I don't like CGI. I think at the time it worked. I just remember being a fucking teenager and loving that.
Yeah, of course.
It would have worked at the time. So you weren't disappointed by that. That's good, because that. And what did you think? So you said you were pretty sure that Vincent Cassel was the one controlling it. But what about then? We get a scene not long after that where we properly see the beast. It goes smashing into that wooden cabin, terrorizing De Fronsac and the girl. And then we see the figure blow his whistle. And then we see that right hand. What did you think then? Cassel has no hand.
I still thought it was Cassel, because I was like, well, clearly he's hiding his arm.
Did you thought that, did you?
Yes.
See, I couldn't remember for sure, but I definitely didn't know the first time I watched it that Cassel had his arm bound back.
It seemed too much of like a red herring to be like, I haven't got an arm, and this is the arm that I'm using to stroke the beast and stuff.
Do you know what it felt like when I was watching it? It felt like when you know who Jigsaw is in Saw, and you're watching it with people who don't know. It's like, oh, it seems too obvious.
Yeah.
And I thought that as well. When his withered arm comes out and it strokes the line, I thought, oh, Paul's going to get that, isn't he?
Yeah.
And you did.
I got it. Yeah. I mean, it just for storytelling tropes, I got it before there was even a reveal that there was a man controlling the wolf. I thought it was a werewolf film. I was thinking, Vincent Cassel's the werewolf.
I mean, the whole film is a curious film because it's called Brotherhood of the Wolf. It leans into these wolf beast attacks, so it sort of sets you up for, it's like going to be this horror thriller the whole time. But it's like, it's more than that. It's very different from that. It's kind of like this romance between De Fronsac and Vincent Cassel's sister, and then it's also this secret society subplot, and it's also this uprising against the king from the church. And I think, I don't care about any of it. If you don't have a lion in a metal skeleton, I don't care about any of this.
Yeah. This is the thing. Yeah, everything hinges on you enjoying this set piece of a a lion inside this armor suit, or just knowing there's some kind of thing that's not a wolf, it's bigger than a wolf, and the mystery surrounding that. But I got to say, from up front, where you get the narration from Marquis, and he says the beast first appeared in 1764, right? Or that's when it was happening. And what shot do you get? Do you remember what he says? What the shot is when he's saying this?
No. What is it? Go on.
It's a crucifix with Jesus on it.
Okay. Right.
So as soon as I saw that, I was like, that means something, because you're saying the beast appeared and you're showing me a shot of the crucifix with Jesus on it, and that is like the button heads of these religions, isn't it? So I was like, okay, well, something's going to come down the line. I don't know how that makes sense, because I'm watching a werewolf film, or what I thought was a werewolf film at that time.
Yeah.
But it felt so striking that it would show you this shot from the very off with that subtitle over the top.
Mm-hmm. And it's obviously,
it does kind of play into that. Yeah,
it plays into it. It's a confusing film. It's not that it's confusing. It's just that there's so much talking about kingly affairs and what's going on in the courts of the land and this, that, and the other. And it's like half of me is like, I don't care enough about this to be engaged in what you're talking about. But the other half is like, I don't understand the significance of what that means. If this is happening over here, how it affects here and whatnot. So at the end, when you get the reveal of this sect that had been leading this uprising against the king, I'm like, well, okay, but so what? Yeah. I don't care enough.
It's like a pagan, almost like a pagan religion, isn't it? That's like the dates before Christianity or something, and it's just, but it's also leaning into Christianity, and it's like, I don't know. I couldn't really work out what they were trying to say, but
paganism is much more in touch with the earth and with nature. Paganism is a positive religion, whereas this was almost like a subset, a satanic subset of religion.
About a wolf or something.
I mean, the real Brotherhood of the Wolf is Manny and the Fronzak's connection. Which, as much as I didn't like Manny, because I just thought he was a bit of a stereotype, and as much as I thought the Fronzak was an absolute creep, I appreciated the connection they had and how the Fronzak embodies Manny's persona after his death. It's like his spirit went into him.
Yeah. And they are the Brotherhood of the Wolf, right?
They are.
That's clearly their totems.
Although, so is that secret society.
It's all wolves. Everyone's a wolf in this film.
They're all wolves. That's why, like, there's lots of good stuff in there. But it's just buried under 2.5 hours of bagginess.
Do you know what's not good, though? The fact that Manny's just played by a Hawaiian.
Yeah, I know.
Man.
I know.
He's Filipino, Japanese, Hawaiian. That's his background, the actor.
Yeah, I know. That's some typical stuff.
Yeah.
I was going to say typical stuff from Hollywood, but typical stuff from white filmmakers.
Yeah. What can you do? It's that kind of era, isn't it? Well, it's 2001. You'd think they'd do better by then.
No, I know. You think you'd do better.
Yeah.
Here's some clever stuff that I like. Well, not clever stuff. Knowing that he was controlling it from the off. I mentioned it before. When the Fronzak's at the table and he's telling the story about the furry fish.
Yeah.
Vincent Cassel being like, this is not real. Him being the only one who's like, this is not real. And the Fronzak being like, I'm afraid he's right. I'm just fooling you. Because Vincent Cassel fucking knows that what you see on the outside isn't what's on he knows there's actual truth hidden inside what it actually is. What you see on the outside is not what it is. So that was a nice little Easter egg. And also the fact that right up front, when he tells you how he lost his arm, he's like, I was attacked by a lion.
Oh, so I might have missed that line.
He says, I was attacked by a lion in Africa and lost my arm.
So is that why his arm's withered? Why is his arm like that?
Yeah, I think a lion attacked him, and he my understanding is the lion attacked him, he killed the lion, and he took the lion's cub.
The cubs,
and because the cub was then tortured to be his...
Yeah, he took the strongest cub, didn't he, out of the litter. Yeah.
I felt so sorry for that lion at the end.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just looking, it's super sweet, wasn't it?
He had a nice little eye. And the Fronzak stroking his little eyebrow.
I know.
Very sweet.
Was it a mercy killing?
Yeah, mercy killing. He didn't do that out of malice.
Yeah, he knew
It's not the lion's fault.
He's been raised up to be like that, hasn't he? To be merciless and ruthless.
He's been raised by Cassell. Oh, let me ask you this: did you watch the subs or the dubs?
Oh, subtitles.
Okay, so I watched the subtitles way back. The reason I watched the dub this time is because I remember the trivia that Vincent Cassell does his own dubbing.
Oh,
and
interesting.
I remember it back then because I listened to it back then as well, and the same is true now. Yes, he does do his own dubbing, but if you listen to the dub version of the film, Vincent Cassell is barely comprehensible because obviously all the others are English/American actors speaking with a hint of French, whereas Vincent Cassell, his thick French accent is coming out, so the English words are slightly garbled, and he comes across very unnatural in the dub because of that. It doesn't feel like a good dub from him, which is not his fault. He's doing far better work than the rest of them because he's like, yeah, I did it in French and I'm going to try and do it in English as well. Fair enough.
He must have honed his English speaking since then because it's quite early day Cassell, isn't it? So maybe he didn't have a handle on the accent as he would have.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, what did you think of all these fight scenes and slow-mo punches and such?
I mean, when it started, I was like, okay, this is kind of cool, but I think it's just so mishmash, isn't it, against these hoity-toity French wigged men, and it doesn't really. It feels like it is wanting to be a kind of Matrix kind of film, but then also every other genre on top of that.
I wrote a note. I said, went to the Guy Ritchie school of doing action set pieces, but then it's not true because this came out years before Sherlock Holmes, because it made me think of the bare knuckle fighting from the first Sherlock Holmes.
That is a brilliant film though, a brilliant scene as well.
It is. I agree, but the early action scene in this, I thought, he ripped it off from Guy Ritchie. It's like, no, this actually did it 8 years before Guy Ritchie did Sherlock Holmes.
I mean, maybe it played a little better for me because it's the first time I'd ever seen it, and I didn't know what I was expecting. Maybe, so the flair of it, I was like, oh, okay. I didn't expect this kind of. I didn't know what I was going in for, but I didn't expect this. This was fun. I thought it was going to be kind of a serious hunt for some kind of werewolf, especially from the poster. It feels very moody, and very dark. Obviously, period set. And that's what thought I was going to get, but this is totally different. All the flair, all the action, all the slow mo, all the sound effects. It's something totally different.
And this is what makes it intriguing because it's not a bad. I imagine that someone, I keep using Julio, but it's because he very often has quite an extreme take on a film. But I can imagine someone who feels the same as Julio being like, the genres are all over the place. Just because you're doing all different genres doesn't mean it's good. It just probably means you don't know what you're doing. And I can get that read. But I do think it is the director's intention to blur the genres. I don't think it's a case of him not knowing what he wants to make. I think he intentionally is blurring the genres. Personally, I don't think any of them works particularly well, but because it is this like chop suey of all these genres, the overall flavour is very interesting. And it is like if you mix a bunch of ingredients in a bowl and you'd go, yeah, well, these don't all quite go, but it's an interesting drink or interesting meal.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like this film would have been so much better if they stripped out the romance.
Oh, 100%.
It slows it down so much.
100%.
And that is almost like the drama and the romance of the film that is the boring part, especially when it's set against all these flashy and maybe not best choreographed fight scenes, but it's totally different and it just slows the pace down.
It slows the pace down, but also don't you just think he's fucking gross?
Yeah, there's nothing about him really. He's not very like, what is he, charming, is he?
The girl's like 19.
Yeah.
And you look about 50, mate, and you just rock into town and start being all smarmy, and then you go and fuck a prostitute.
Yeah. And I don't feel like he even really won her over. There was a moment where she wasn't interested, and then suddenly it was like they were star-crossed lovers.
She got interested in him when he decided not to allow the wolf to be killed, that white wolf. You remember when they would go for that wolf hunt and he doesn't partake?
Do you know when she got interested in him?
When?
When she said, "Oh, when he's sleeping with me, he says your name."
Oh, well, yes.
It's like, oh, that is very romantic.
I know, how romantic, yeah. Monica Bellucci, right, at that time, I respect her as an actress, but she certainly got pigeonholed at that time for excessively sex-based roles, whether it was being the subject of, Irreversible's subject matter, or being a prostitute, or being some sort of conniving seductress. That was Monica Bellucci.
Must be the way she carries herself. Just that's how she goes about her day-to-day life, so she kind of fits into those roles, I guess.
Yeah. And see, I didn't like that. That whole, when they're having sex, it's like now we're just watching like some softcore French porn.
Yeah.
And then she just sucks on his blood off the blade of the knife. It's like, why are you doing this? What's the need for this?
It was only to get to the point of telling him about the poison. That I could poison you in your sleep or something, just to foreshadow what's going to happen. But yeah, unnecessary. Like, you could probably strip out both the I know, obviously it's bad. You should have some females in there, but both of them are serving him, so they're obviously not good female characters. But get rid of both of them, they would not have delivered. Like, the film would have probably been better.
I know, and this is, I think, right. If you think about this film, who is your market for it? You'd probably, you might say young men because of the action stuff, but at the same time, it's like, oh yeah, but it's also a romance. But there is not a woman alive.
Not a good romance.
No, who would watch this and go, oh, how romantic. They would go, this guy fucking sucks, and this woman exists only to please him.
Yeah.
It's the whole Bechdel test thing. Can two women have a conversation that isn't about a man?
They could not.
In this film, they could not, no.
They had one conversation, and it was in the church, and it was that conversation I said.
Yeah.
That's the only time they spoke.
What do you think about that beast that he has to create? He give it a red back.
Very scary. Very good. Very good. Very good taxidermy work.
You know what it reminds me of? You know Harry and the Hendersons?
Yeah. When he sees all the taxidermy.
Well, yes, but no, I didn't mean that. But yeah, I know what you mean. I mean when John Lithgow's dad tells him, make him look more menacing. Yes. The drawing in the store, and the dad puts all the fangs on and everything. Yeah.
Oh, it wasn't the wanted poster. It was in the window of the store, wasn't it? Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
because he's trying to sell the guns.
Yeah.
And that's what you're right, because he definitely knew about. I don't know what his job was, because they called him. They say he's the king's gardener.
I guess he's a little bit like a David Attenborough who does taxidermy.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know why they got him hunting for it though.
I think it's because he's meant to know. He's meant to have a keener eye for animals, their instincts, how they move across the land, where they're likely to be, how they
I guess they already had the soldiers, didn't they? He didn't have to necessarily, because he wasn't really going on the hunts.
No, he didn't believe in it.
Yeah, from the off he was saying this isn't a wolf.
Did you enjoy seeing all those poor wolf dogs getting shot to bits?
Oh, terrible. I was trying to look in the trivia to see what was real. Because there was clearly a dead wolf that he was taxidermying.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about that.
Oh, I don't know, man. The way he was opening his mouth, it looked like a real mouth.
Oh yeah, but that was real, but that's sedated, surely. Come on.
Well, I don't know. I don't know about these things. But that whole pile of dead wolves.
Yeah.
Sad.
And the wolves / dogs, they were probably using huskies, I imagine, for that. Were flying up in the air when the bullets were flying at them.
Spinning.
Yeah, and I thought
don't know how they got to do that.
Jim Henson. It was
Well,
Jim Henson.
He made him spin.
He made him spin. Jim Henson, everyone's favourite, the old lovable Jim Henson. He was killing dogs. He was shooting dogs on set. He's like, listen, I'm not even going to make a puppet for your movie. We're just going to shoot dogs.
How are you going to execute this effect? I'm just going to shoot a dog.
I'm just going to shoot a dog, yeah. The people won't go for it. They won't know. We'll just stick a credit at the end that says no animals were harmed in the making of this.
All puppets.
Who checks that? I want to know. They stick that on the end of every film. I can't believe that there is someone on set always during the animal scenes.
It's definitely not at the end of Wake and Fright.
No, it ain't.
But yeah, there was no information about the wolf, so I can't say here or there whether any animal was actually hurt or sedated, like in Pet Sematary.
Yeah. They didn't give
many
peanut
sedated
butter.
animals this year.
I know. What was the other film where we had a sedated animal at the end? It wasn't just Pet Sematary. There's something that we talked about which had a... Oh, no, it was. It was the cat at the end of Pet Sematary, wasn't it?
Yeah. Cat got sedated. And the little boy.
Deary me.
Sedated children.
I know. Did you like that scene, which reminded me a little bit of Jaws, because it comes out of nowhere, when the Fronzak goes into that like cottage to see Madeline or whatever her name is, and just as the door's closing, you get an overhead shot of the beast approaching from behind.
But did you realise the shot before that? He was behind him. There's the first time he enters the town, he's on horseback, and it's so concealed, but I spotted it, and I was like, oh, let me just make sure I saw what I saw. Yeah, and he's in the wolf's in the lion's in the background, and he's like standing on a hill, and he's just standing there watching him. And then and every scene after that, or like a couple of scenes after that, you keep seeing him like creeping behind or in the cellar. It's very good.
Now, Vincent Cassel was taking a risk there, because by sending that lion in, he was just assuming that lion was not going to rip his sister to shreds.
I know. I don't really understand what the motivation was, because it seemed like there was something else going on. Because he said, I'm plagued by these visions and stuff. Like, is he being controlled by something, or...
So let's try and work this out. Let's try and lay this out, because there's another thing that confuses me. When they first come to town, Manny and the Fronzak, I'm sure that the royalty people say it only kills women and children.
Yep, correct.
Why?
Yeah, it doesn't follow those rules, does it? And there's no reason why. This is why at the beginning you have all the soldiers dressed up as women, and I was thinking, is this how French people dress this time?
I didn't even clock that. I just thought that was French 17th century dress, but because
they had the pale faces. Yeah, they do mention it after that, because he didn't realise he beat the soldiers up. He said, "Oh, because we dress them as women."
Christ, only the French.
Yeah, but yeah, there's no reason. But what is the reasoning to kill the women and children, to keep them in line for religion? Is it because I was going to mention this as well, actually, in the church they're always talking about the wolf and the beast, and even in like the murals there's a wolf. They light all the candles for all the victims. Is it because they want to center everyone around a more wolf focused religion? And by killing I don't know why they killed the women and children. Maybe because they're the easiest to kill, maybe, I don't know.
But they say it runs from men.
Yeah, they did say that, yeah.
I don't understand why it would be the case. But as we see, it then tears pieces of men to bits, so it obviously isn't afraid of men.
Yeah. It's clearly what they were doing before they turned up to change the game.
I'm not interested enough in trying to fully understand this bit, but tell me, my understanding is Vincent Cassel works with this religious cult who are unhappy with the king and want to overthrow the king's reign so that they can instill this religion. And they're going to use the lion wolf to do that by making people dissatisfied with the fact that he's unable to protect the citizens.
Yes. I mean,
and he also wants to sleep with his sister.
Yeah, and also
for some reason.
I just thought they were trying to keep control of this one town, and the king found out about it through the grapevine, and he came and trying to sort the situation out. I didn't realise they were trying to change up the country.
Well, I don't know. They were trying to
clearly the
overthrow that
Pope's
one
getting
king.
involved and stuff. So
I know the Pope ain't even fucking French. He's Italian. What business is it of the Popes?
I don't know. It's very wishy-washy. All the story come towards the end.
It is wishy-washy. But the good thing is, even though there is this religious theme through it, it is presenting religion in a bad way the whole time.
Yeah.
That's one thing very much for its credit. It's basically saying religion is predatory and it's praise on women and children, which is very true. Especially, maybe that's why they called the Pope. Maybe that's why they referenced the Pope.
To make the connection.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say it is kind of damning. Even though Fronzak, he's coming in with his Bible verses towards the end, it's still, from the off, we get that, as I said, that shot saying the beast came in this year, and it's focusing on the cross with Jesus on it.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. Who knows what they're trying to say about this wolf religion, what they're trying to do. I don't even know.
I know.
It couldn't make sense of it.
I know. I think like your enjoyment, or my enjoyment anyway, from this film doesn't derive from the actual details of the plot of what's going on. It's more about some of the more primal reveals that happen, i.e. Cassell, what the beast is and whatnot. That's why it would have benefited from being like, this could have been a really tight 90-minute film. If it had just dealt with the beast thing. If it had followed in the Sleepy Hollow mould, because that's essentially what Sleepy Hollow was. An outsider comes to town to try and work out why all these people are being killed. There's a terrifying realization that someone from within the town is controlling the Headless Horseman, and then it's dealt with. 100 minutes. Tim Burton, in and out, nicely done.
Yeah.
Could have had the same with this, but we had too much indulgence in all this pompery and finery and, as you say, powdered wigs and shit like that.
Yeah. I think if it's going to be positive against one thing, I'd say it's positive against the Native American religion, and it's talking about how these new religions don't listen to the nature around you, and it seemed very positive about what them two are doing as brothers. Brothers of the wolf.
Yeah. Their brotherhood, which was, let's just go in the whorehouse and sleep with a new prostitute every night.
Exactly. They all knew him. They all knew him after a couple of weeks. Everyone in that whorehouse knew him.
I know. I have to say that, not Madeline, I keep calling her Madeline, Marianne, very beautiful. My jaw dropped a little when I saw her. I was like, I don't remember you. You are quite stunning.
I like a bit of Monica myself, to be honest.
I've never got the attraction, and I'm sure she is a very beautiful woman, an attractive woman. I can see it. I've never ever got it.
That's fine. Different things float different boats, don't they?
Yeah.
One thing I've got to say, at one point, I did actually think, before we got the big reveal, I really thought, because of the way this thing was built, it was like a porcupine weird thing.
It's like a hedgehog thing.
Yeah. I was like, is this an alien? That was my switch. That was my trying to work out the mystery. I was like, if it's just an alien, that'd be rubbish.
I know,
better not be.
That is what makes what it actually is all the better, because it's like, okay, this is
it's
ever
grounded.
so slightly unbelievable, but not so much that you go, oh well, no, that would never happen. This is kind of like, well, maybe.
Yeah, for sure.
Listen, if you see that fucking sword, the more unbelievable thing is Vincent Cassell's sword at
Jesus.
the end. That's
so
like
bad.
a Mortal Kombat sword, man.
It's so stupid.
The dynamics of it just don't make sense. How can you have a sword that separates and curls and then at the same time can just stay rigid and act as a normal sword?
Like, if you just taken these things in isolation, you have this tight-lipped, wigged Frenchmen talking all serious about the king and everything, and then you have Vince Cassell with a bones chain sword swinging it round at the end.
I mean, it looks fucking cool. It looks cool.
I don't know. When he brought it out, I was like, that's not a sword. It looks like wood.
It's a mad sword. Do you know what? That whole section towards the end of the film, it moves the aesthetic of that sword, but particularly when Manny and the Fronzak and the other guy are trying to trap the beast. That's Predator. That's just Predator. By that point, it feels like Predator, and that's why you have to kind of, in a weird way, admire this director for just trying all these different styles. Like how the film goes from that to a fucking period drama.
They're trying to add another film in this as well, Mad Max. All the people who are following the religion, it's like Mad Max. This like kind of tribe they've created, all underground, and I don't know. I didn't even understand who they were. They look so different. Like comparing those people to the wigged people.
They?
Yeah.
Manny, he almost got seduced by that one woman, and then he realises that she's snogging all the other wildlings, and then Manny said, I ain't got no time for this.
And then he just goes to the whorehouse, and they all get scared, saying, oh, there's a snake in the room with him. And they were actually talking about his penis, maybe?
And they were quite ridiculous.
Ridiculous. I thought they were talking about the tattoos. And then I was like, oh no, he just opened his loincloth.
Quite ridiculous. I mean, I would rather have spent, as much as I wasn't enamoured with Manny, I would rather have spent the whole film watching Manny as the outsider and never having had the Fronzak in the film.
Yeah, I'd agree. Yeah.
He just really was a horrible creep as far as I was concerned. And I found it hard to. I wanted him to be attacked. When he dies, I was like, oh shit, I forgot he died. Great. Where do we go from here? So when he was resurrected, I was like, But then I was I like that you're being Manny though.
He ain't surviving under that mud.
Well, she dug him up.
How?
She dug him up and gave him potion. She gave him potion.
Elixir.
She did. Because she was some sort of like...
he's a dead man under all that dirt.
But you remember, she, like you said, she was talking about the poison that she could give that would kill him. Just give a poison to revive him as well. Just like, this is Romeo and Juliet.
If you get buried underground, you think you're breathing under there?
They gave him a straw.
With all that weight on you as well?
He was given a straw.
Very long.
I saw a TV show where these people like to see how close they could get to death, and they went underground, buried for hours, with a tiny straw.
Oh, I'd hate that. That's like claustrophobia. Not be able to breathe properly.
I believe it was called The Sinner.
The Sinner? What, like real life?
No, The Sinner. No, it's not real life. It's that TV show, The Sinner.
Oh, The Sinner was with Jessica Biel, wasn't it?
Yeah, the first season was, yeah. This was like season 3.
Oh, okay. I don't think I've carried on.
They're all very good.
Interesting. There's one thing that happened that is so out of place from everything else, and it's when he's in the whorehouse and he has this really psychedelic dream. Yeah, and he has like a skin disease, which I guess is like his Cassell's arm, right? That's what we're seeing. And he's being sacrificed in a wood by a woman who I don't think was Monica Bellucci, it was someone else, correct?
I think it was meant to be Bellucci. Because she's the one who plunges the knife in.
Yeah. So what would that mean?
I don't know. All I know is I wrote, the Fronzak dreams of Bellucci plunging the knife in. Looks too CGI, but wicked also.
But wicked also.
It kind of looked cool, even though it was hyper.
Yeah, it looked good.
CGI.
Yeah. It looked better than the lion.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I'm kind to that lion. I think
I'm kind to the practical lion.
I have a nostalgic effect. I have a nostalgic connection to seeing that lion because they just like Jaws, they use it sparingly for the most part until they really want to reveal it, and then you see it several times. And I can buy it because it's such a ridiculous concept.
Yeah.
Anyway, I can buy into it, and because the metal is concealing the lion within, the CGI kind of works because you're not looking at a CGI lion. You're looking at something that you don't have a real life point of reference for. We don't have lions walking around with metal on, so there isn't like a real life component.
It's more like the textures, though. against the real life. That's what didn't work for me.
I know. But, what were they going to do back then?
It was still a lion in a suit, man. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, a lion in a suit. You wanted to see an actual lion in a suit, didn't you?
I wanted them to show a real lion at the end. Was it a real lion? The eye looked real.
No, it can't be, surely. It did look pretty good, but you can't be stroking no lion's eyelashes.
It's true. It's true. It must have been a puppet.
Yeah, it must have been. Jim Henson's puppet.
He just shot that lion and dragged him in. He said, "This is how I make puppets."
Terrible work. Real. Terrible work. But see, he obviously the director Gans goes from making this film to immediately making Silent Hill. Mm-hmm. Now, Silent Hill, the mechanical contraptions and movements and beasts in that are beastly and metally. Pyramid Head and others who have those swords. There's a visual similarity between that and the lion with the metal caging and Vincent Cassell's sword. So he obviously is titillated by that aesthetic.
Yeah, clearly, yeah. I'm surprised this guy hasn't made many films. Like like a handful.
I know.
Mm. But yeah, clearly his kink.
Yes.
But overall, I just got to say, like, it is way too long, man. I got to about half an hour before the end, and I was so sure it was going to be finished soon. And I was like, what? Half an hour?
Yeah.
What's going to happen? And then it was like one of those things where, because I watched this just before the podcast, so I was getting to a deadline I needed to reach, and I was like, how can this? I was like, I started early hours of the morning. How am I here half an hour before I got to record?
Yeah, I know, exactly. It's an ordeal of a film at times, and it's only because there are these unique moments in it that sort of make you snap to attention all of a sudden, that it keeps you. Yeah, if it stayed in any one of the many genres it tries to inhabit, it would lose you, because I don't think it works as any of them completely by itself. Like, if the whole thing was just about the beast, I know I said it would be better if it was, but if the whole thing was just about the beast, you'd probably go, this is stupid. This has gotten stupid now. This is silly.
It's because they hold it back.
They hold it back. They contextualize it within this stupid romance and other ongoings in the court. Mm-hmm. So kind of the things that hold it back are also the things that kind of make it unique.
Yeah.
There's a reason, there's a reason why it has stayed in my memory for decades, and that when you said we were doing this, I was excited. I wasn't like, oh yeah, I remember liking it. I was like, oh, it's exciting. So,
well, yeah, I'm damn sure. I'm happy I watched it. It's going to be one of those ones where I don't think I ever need to see this again, because now I know what happens.
Yeah.
And the whole enjoyment is the mystery of this film, I think, for me.
I think it's sad that you knew that he had his arm, but at the same time, I can't imagine ever not realising that, but I definitely didn't know it the first time I watched it. But I was a younger man, so...
Yeah. I think they drew too much attention to it.
Yeah, well, there we go.
Yeah.
And also, they never had any attack on Cassell. Like, if Cassell had ever been in danger of the beast itself, like, he could have done that to throw the scent off. He could have put himself in harm's way, been around when the beast was there, knowing that the beast wouldn't come to him,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It would have helped. But, it was what it was. And it was an enjoyable little film. Do you want me to give my score?
Yeah, give it.
It's getting a 7. I thought it was good.
Yeah, me too, 7. Used to be an 8, but it's a 7. It's good.
It's got a damn lion in armour.
Lion in armour.
When are you going to see that?
I know, never again. Never seen it since. Never seen it before.
And when they did the remake, and it had to be another animal, what would it be? God. Because it could be a lion, because it would be a surprise.
An elephant?
Hippo. Hippos are vicious.
Hippo would be quite scary, yeah. And it would go in the water as well, so it'd be like a metal. If you put a metal thing on the rhino, that'd be very scary. Yeah, that would be.
It'd be like, you could do like a Jaws one with the boat. They're on the water.
Oh, dearie me. Yeah, that'd be scary stuff.
I made the better film.
You did.
That's it.
Oh,
that's it. That's the rating. Straight 7.
That's 7, straight 7. We obviously don't have Adam, so for now we can only place it me and you.
As far as we can go.
Multiplicity is better.
I think I gave.
You gave multiplicity a 6.
Yeah.
So what happens?
It's sitting at the bottom.
Stays where it is.
Adam watches it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, there we go. Okay, bottom of the 7th.
End of that. Doesn't go nowhere.
Didn't go nowhere. Can't even compete.
Can't even compete. And speaking of compete, we might as well talk about the next episode.
I like what you did
there. Peter from the Movie Duel podcast, the 3 Men in a Mixtape podcast, and the so-called X-Files podcast is coming on to the podcast next episode. And he's going to be speaking about a 2001 film with us, which is very exciting. He's never been on the podcast before.
Never been. We've both been on his podcast.
Yes, we have. And we're going to go from a potential werewolf film to a potential vampire film. We're doing Trouble Every Day by Claire Denis. I've never seen it. Have you seen it?
Never seen it. Never heard of it.
So, all very interesting. It's been on his watch list for a while, he said. So, babe, it's the most exciting thing is Peter's coming on our podcast, and it doesn't really matter what film we're doing because we're going to have fun regardless.
That's correct. And it's another foreign language film.
It's another bloody foreign language film. It's the foreign year.
It's the foreign year. Apart from what we're going to end this year on, or not end, when Julio brings us his pick, that's not foreign language, folks. But for the rest of you, you need to start swatting up on your reading skills so you can read subtitles. Exactly.
Do it up. So go watch Trouble Every Day, because that's the next episode, everyone. And other than that, we should probably start getting out of here and start talking about our wonderful patrons. We got a Patreon, www.patreon.com/filmbusters, where you can get wonderful episodes. You can join the likes of our wonderful family over there, just like the likes of Luke Bennett.
Who I just met for the first time at the weekend. I met one of our patrons for the first time on Saturday night.
How was that?
Very brief.
Hated him.
No, he was nice. I only spoke to him for a couple of minutes, though. There were many people at this thing. He went down the young end of the table, and I was at the old end of the table, I'm afraid.
Oh, yes. Well, that's Adam's crew, innit? They're all young'uns.
He ain't anymore.
No. Well, neither are they then.
There's another one, Francis Iberini. Saw him at the weekend too.
Oh, did you? Did you see Steve and Mark from Movie Drone as well?
I sadly didn't see Steve and Mark, but guess what Francis said to me? He said, do you know what is so mad? Is after all these years, I've never met Paul. I'm like,
it's a lie. It's a lie.
I was like, you have? He's like, when? I was like, the poker night. And he was like, was he there? I was like, it was his fucking poker set he brought. People who we definitely haven't seen is Steve and Mark, because they disappeared, baby.
Yes. How about Brent from Home Video Hustle? They ain't disappeared. They're still doing the good stuff.
Still doing the good stuff. I sent him a message he wasn't expecting yesterday about something.
About what?
Top secret project, which you know about at this point in time, but nobody else does.
Oh, that's very interesting. Is that going to stay in the podcast?
It can stay in.
Okay, lovely. Little tease. Even though everyone's left now.
Exactly. No one's sticking around for this. Only the patrons stick around for this, but they just want to hear us say their name.
I know. They like their heads to get bigger and bigger. Like Mr. Luke Human's, your head getting bigger?
His head's getting bigger by the second. And Mr. Sean Panda Nicholson, who was with us very, very recently as we talked about Good Vibrations.
Exactly. That was lovely, wasn't it? How about Nerdrovert? He's here too. Hello.
Nerdrovert is seen that reviews, I think. Because he doesn't post as Nerdrovert anymore. Hasn't for a long while.
No. But he doesn't use Twitter, right?
No, he has actively, consistently for a long time been using Threads and Blue Sky.
Mm. Well, there you go. Like most people at the moment.
And I don't know how we're introducing each of these people. I've forgotten now. Julio is also a patron, and he'll be with us very soon.
How about Jamie Russell? He's also a patron. He's actually going to be heading up the next round. How about that?
And finally, we have the lovely Katie and OT. Katie, last seen interviewing the cast of Wicked, the movie.
Oh, yes. Doing big things over there, aren't they?
Oh, man.
So good.
Unreal amount.
I know. Great stuff. Well, that's it. That's our wonderful patrons. So, yeah, become one right now.
And that just leaves it for me to say goodbye and for Paul to say...
Omelette du fromage.
So offensive to all the Frenchies.
That's from a Dexter episode.
Is it?
Dexter's Laboratory.
Oh, yeah, well, that sounds about right.
He basically wants to learn French. And do you know that old thing where you put headphones on and listen to the whole French language, and then you'll wake up and you're supposed to know French? Well,
yes.
He put it on, and the first thing that was teaching was cheese omelette, and it kept getting stuck, and it going omelette du fromage, omelette du, and that's all you knew in the morning. That's all we could say. So omelette du fromage, everyone. There you go. That's your final French thing.
Tales Masters.